your station for up-to-the-minute news and intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversations. 96.9 FM. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the management and staff of Guardian Radio.
Good morning and welcome back to Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. You're joining the radio program Guardian Radio AM with C.A. Newry. Mr. Newry is on his way to studio, as well as a guest scheduled to be on the show today. Until they get here, I want to continue with Mr. Newry's show from yesterday. Open line, that's what he promised you, and that's what you will get. The numbers to call 323-6232. That's 323-6232. 325-4316. That's 325-4316. 325-4259. That's 325-4259. And 242-300-5720. 242-300-5720 is a toll-free line for family Island listeners. Again, we're doing an open line today. You call and talk about whatever you want to talk about. And I've got some information, some text to get the show started right away. Producer, I see we got a call on the line. This text says, good morning. Two Bahamians got first and second in that same Georgia State Powerlifting Championship. Please congratulate first place winner, D'Angelo Griffin, and second place, David Capron. The first place had a record lift first at the championships. We say congratulations and good morning to D'Angelo Griffin and David Capron. Let's go to the phone line. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Aaron. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Okay, I'm calling about something that's been troubling me for a little while.
Yes, sir.
Remember when we were building the Kendall Isaacs gym many years ago?
Mm-hmm.
And the $7 million was allocated and put in the escrow in somebody's account. And the person held on to it for about 5 to 7 years until pressure was applied. And all they did was gave back the money and never the interest on the money.
Mm-hmm.
But that was donated by somebody to the government to build that gym. And they took about 5 to 7 years before they broke ground.
Mm-hmm.
But the money was in escrow. So what happened to the interest of that money? And we just let that go. See, if we were in the States, somebody was going to jail for that.
Mm-hmm.
And that money never was talked about anymore, or we never got back to it or whatever. And people just getting away with all kinds of things in this country, and they're laughing at us when they retire and go to and they live a good life, send their children to private schools or whatever, just live a good life off of us. So what I'm curious though, if that was ever followed up and found out what happened to the interest of the money, because they gave the $7 million back, but never the interest. You know what it is? Those $7 million for 5 years.
Oh, I can't even imagine that.
Okay, 5 to 7 years it took for them to get around to building the gym.
I tell you what we need is the Freedom of Information Act, right? Because this information should be documented somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, but I am unaware of what happened to the interest. It's a very interesting issue and salient point. What happened to the interest? I think it needs to go before a court. Somebody needs to take it before a court so a judge could make a ruling and say, no, you can get the interest back too. Let's go to the next caller. Good morning, caller.
Hey, good morning, Ms. Green and your guest. How you doing?
Good, thank you, sir. How are you?
I want to talk about the guy, the little child who got beat from the parent.
From the parent?
Yeah, from the father.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Who they call the police on.
Right. So I briefly read that story. I think the boy was in the custody of his father. The father had primary custody of the child. And when the child visited the mother, she became aware or saw bruises that concerned her. And then she pushed the issue forward and the father was brought before the court.
Yeah. Okay, I want to ask you a question, right? In 2025, which type of punishment is socially acceptable nowadays? Because if a child's being rude or lying, right, if you take away their PlayStation 5, that's emotional punishment, right? If that's emotional abuse, so-called said. If you beat them with the belt, it's physical abuse, right? If you tell them, well, you can't go outside or whatever, and you take something else away from them, they call it social abuse.
Psychological abuse.
You're right. So at which point we supposed to curb these social ills by punishing the child?
Okay, so
because this is starting to get ridiculous at this point.
So here, let's just talk about it quickly, right? I've read of instances where a child who's with shared custody, they're primary with one parent, and then they spend time with the other parent, right? The father said, "Hey, I gave my child a PlayStation as a gift, primarily for him to play with, but also secondarily, the father and the child are able to interact with each other because they're great distance apart. They're able to communicate and they're able to play games with each other. So those are two primary purposes of the gift, right? The tool. The father is complaining because the mother punishes the boy by restricting access to the toy entirely, right? And the father is saying, listen, I understand the need to punish the boy. I understand you've chosen a psychological punishment versus a physical beating, but one of the primary reasons for access to the toy is so that me and my son could interact with each other. And he's basically saying, could you choose a different type of punishment, one that does not restrict my access to my son in the way that we normally interact with each other? So in that instance, I would say that restricting his access to the toy is too much because that's his means of communication with the father. But removing a toy like a PlayStation from a child who's not achieving in school, who's rude or disrespectful, I don't think that's psychological abuse. And I think that for parents who do not use physical abuse, right, but use psychological abuse, especially, psychological discipline, let's call it that, right? Another instance, a parent who said that they're at wit's end with the teenage child, they've removed the doors from the bedroom, they've removed the phone, or at least the only thing they could do with the phone is call 911 and call parents, right? But the child is still unruly. So what they did was they gave the child one set of clothes. They had 3 pairs of brown pants and three green shirts, and that's all they could wear. And they said that caused the shift in the child, restricting their freedom of choice in that way. Some people would call it psychological abuse, but I think it is better than beaten. The last point I want to make is how many bruises are required to teach the lesson?
Okay. I don't think there's an amount. You can't calculate an amount of beating. I'm going to ask you a question, a personal question. When you were younger, right, have you ever been punished by beating, spanking, or slipper?
Listen, so I got beaten by my daddy twice. That's all it took.
Okay.
But you know what? You know why?
Hold on. And did you did whatever was wrong or did that again?
No, but it's not.
Did it curb the behavior?
It did, but here's why it curbed the behavior. It wasn't the beating alone, and I could tell you that. He said to me, we would watch the satellite when we were not allowed to watch the satellite.
Hold on. You didn't have the satellite point straight up, though?
No, we wasn't doing that. I didn't know about that. We would watch the satellite when we weren't allowed to watch the satellite. And he had a loud car, so we could hear him entering the neighborhood, and we would rush to turn it off, right? And then when he beat me, he said, listen, I'm going to tell you why I beaten you, not for disobeying me, but for being stupid. He said, every day I come home, I put my hand on the box, and the box still hot. I know you always just watching it. He said, I beat you all for being stupid. Don't be stupid. That's why it worked.
Okay, yeah, that's punishment as abuse, because my thing is, if you spank a child and you tell the child why they're being spanked, that's punishment. But if you spank a child without telling them why they're being spanked, that's abuse.
Yeah.
So it curbed the behavior.
But how many bruises are required to get the lesson in is my question.
Ms. Green, you know you can't calculate
You can.
how many.
You can.
No one can calculate
Yes, you moderate yourself as an adult. As an adult who is disciplining a physical punishment to a child, you must be in absolute control of yourself and your emotions and your
Okay,
psychological
let me
state.
ask you a quick question, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you know we have a lot of ills in this country today, right? We have a lot of bad driving. We have a lot of poor behavioral skills, poor communication skills, low comprehension skills in the Bahamas today.
Yeah.
How do you propose that we curb these ills? We have a lot of ills.
You know how?
You expect you want to hug the people?
Adults need to be prepared to take the same punishment they excited to give to children.
Yeah,
Don't-
but the problem is if you grow up as a child doing the same thing without no curve in your attitude or what you're doing, you grow up with adults and you do the same thing. No one can tell you what to do.
Right, but what I'm saying is, it's like the teacher who beats the child for failing. If a teacher beats a child for failing, you guys beat the teacher because the teacher failed too. I mean, I'm just saying, that's
Yeah,
not
I get what
unreasonable
you're
to
saying.
think.
But the thing is, we need some form of punishment for people to curb social behaviors.
It's not just, okay, I got two more callers on the line. You're right. We need some form of punishment to curb social behaviors. Physical discipline in and of itself is not effective. It has to be coupled simultaneously with engagement, authentic engagement. Also, there needs to be a broader collective response, or the community that the child is in reinforces the lesson by modeling the same behavior we want the child to follow. So it's difficult to discipline children when you tell them, do as I say and not as I do, but you doing the same thing you beating them for. Thank you, caller. Let's go to the next call, and thank you for your patience. Good morning.
Hey, yeah, good morning again, Aaron.
Morning.
Aaron, I have two questions.
Yes, sir.
What happened to our Sovereign Wealth Fund?
I can tell you right now what happened to it. The Sovereign Wealth Fund is...
It's fun.
Hold on,
It's
no.
FUN.
Right, it has... The thing we had, the SWF Act, the Sovereign Wealth Fund Act, was repealed and replaced with the National Investment Fund Act. In the article, the Prime Minister indicated that the IMF recommended this model as a more suitable and effective model for our dynamic.
And so how much money in that fund?
I have no idea. Last thing I know, they said they was putting land in it. I don't know how that gonna work.
Yeah. We need our money. We need it now.
But so for people who are interested in the Sovereign Wealth Fund, research the National Investment Fund Act. That is the new iteration of the Sovereign Wealth Fund.
Which ain't working for us.
I ain't sure.
Yeah, you're sure I know. The
Yes, sir.
question is, Aaron,
Yes, sir.
what happened to all the money that was confiscated and all the assets that were confiscated from the Proceeds of Crime Act?
I have no idea, sir.
You know, millions of dollars. Some cases, they were caught, these drug people caught with hundreds of thousands. We don't know where that money going, right? That fund is supposed to be audited, it's supposed to be administered by certain people, but nobody knows where the money goes, you know? Come on, man. Things like that shouldn't be. We need a Freedom of Information Act to find out what is going on in this country, because we don't, you know, the government passed these laws and whatnot. And there's, as a matter of fact, the Prime Minister said when he was giving these MPs this additional $50,000, that the MPs, that the Auditor General will audit these MPs every year. That hasn't happened yet.
Either.
We
Yes,
don't
sir.
know what the money is being used for, man.
Yes,
you
sir.
can't run a country like that.
No,
like
sir.
this.
No, sir.
Yeah, have a good day.
Thank you very much. One thing I know, I ain't sure. I don't think they use the money to pay down the deficit. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Aaron.
Morning.
I'm calling concerning the $50 million and the interest on it
Hold
that
on.
is owed to the people of Winn-Dixie and City Market. That is
Okay. I hear you, sir. I'm going to recommend that you guys seek new legal counsel. I mean, I don't know the particulars of the case, but I remember shopping in Winn-Dixie, and I think it's far too long to be waiting for your money. Let's go to the next caller. Good morning, caller. All right, I'm sorry I missed you, caller. Let me go to the text line quickly. I also have a follow-up on the SpaceX conversation from yesterday's papers. Here's the text. How many children do you have again, Miss Green? Texter, are you suggesting that I should moderate or limit or refuse to even engage in commentary about corporal punishment being administered to children, the difference between abuse and discipline? First of all, I was a child, so I have some interest in it. But I have filled the role as a camp counselor, and while I've only ever been loosely in charge of children for 7 days at a time, I did it from the age of 13 to 18, and I've observed a lot. I've also been in care of my nieces and nephews, so, I think that I could weigh in on this conversation, and I don't think I need to have children to be able to say parents should not beat their children for behavior that their children actively watch them engage in. You got to find a different recourse. Good morning, caller. Turn your radio down for me, caller. There we go. You got it turned down now? All right, here's another text. It says, Aaron, I play basketball and football on my PlayStation. Are you saying that I'm not a man? No, what I'm saying is that there's a difference between playing sports, like physically engaging in them, and playing the same sports on a game station or a game pod. That's what I'm saying. The numbers to call, 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259, 242-300-5720. Good morning, caller. A caller, I'm sorry, it was literally 10 seconds. I apologize, and we got another caller on the line. Producer, good morning, caller.
Good morning, Aaron.
Good morning.
Again.
Yes, sir.
You don't have to be most parents let their children stay mostly with their uncles and aunties. Most of the aunties have the children most of the time. And I can say because I have an uncle.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time, when I use discipline, most of mine used to be based on psychology.
Mm-hmm.
And it works. You don't have to straight a rod most of the time. Only on major circumstances. I end with this. James Dobson write a book on discipline. Some children are strong-willed, and some children are less strong-willed.
Mm-hmm.
So you use your strategy based on the strong-will. What's smart enough to try to outsmart you and get away with it. But you more smarter than them because you are grown up. But you don't have to shout. You don't have to do that. You just use a strategy based on the psychology of the strong will. Read that book by James Dobson.
James Thompson?
James Dobson. Pardon me?
James Thompson?
Dobson. Focus on the family.
Okay, focus
That's
on the
his
family.
ministry.
Okay.
Have a good day.
Thank you very much, Pumpkin Eater. Let's prep the next caller. It's also this idea that you wait until 13 to discipline a child, and then you row like, why you can't beat this 13-year-old? Because if you had done the work when they were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you may find that you would not need physical or the threat of physical force to engage your young people. Good morning, caller.
Hey, Miss Green, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How you do?
I'm okay, thanks. I'm listening to the conversation about discipline versus abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with you. You have experience. You were a child, so you know exactly what would have happened to you, what you've experienced. I have a child, okay? And I will say that he's now 17, a young man. But when he was, let's say, a toddler, yes, I spanked him. But I always try to remember, don't do anything in anger when you're angry.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Now, when he got older, we would have a talk with him. And there is one thing I always said to him. I said, you are not mentally challenged, so you can understand when I speak to you. If you do not understand what I said to you, you say to me, Mommy, I don't understand what you're saying or what you're asking me to do. Please explain it to me a different way.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't hear me, you asked me to repeat myself.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't do any of those things, then it says to Mommy, that you are choosing. Everything is a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And you are choosing to disobey me. And there are consequences when you disobey your mother and your father. And you will now suffer the consequence. And so when he got older, there are things these children hold on to. I heard you talk about the clothing.
Mm-hmm.
There are things. And I found that to be a lot more strategic, beneficial. It got the results we were looking to achieve, as opposed to, say, belting him.
Mm-hmm.
Mind you, I don't fault people who choose to say, well, okay, we have to spank and we have to discipline. But I know every child is not the same.
Yeah.
We had a foster son, and because of some issues he had growing up, the belting did not work with him. We never belted him, but in having a conversation with him when he did something wrong, I said to him, okay, now I told you not to do this. You still did it. So what do you think I should do? And his immediate response was, beat me.
Mm-hmm.
I said, but you're being beaten in the foster home, and it's not working. I said, so no, I'm not going to beat you.
Mm-hmm.
Now I would say to him, well, okay, Craig is out there playing, so you can't go outside to play. You have to sit in here and think about what it is you did. Write me a little paragraph
Mm-hmm.
to say what you did wrong and why you're not going to do it again. You understand? So all children are different. And I believe if you don't have the parenting skills, some of us need to get beyond ourselves when we decide to have children.
Yeah.
And we have to think about what's in the best interest of the child. Go and take a parenting class. Learn, and what I also found was surrounding myself with that village. That village also helped. So if I'm talking to you and you're not listening, okay, I'm going to have somebody else talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
And that always helps, always helps.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Ms. Green.
No, thank you.
Okay.
And thank you for what you're pouring into your child. Thank you very much. Let's go to the next.
Good.
All the time. Good morning, caller. Hi. You still there?
Yeah, you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you speak a little louder?
Okay. Okay, can you hear me louder now?
Oh, much better. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That I think that was an ignoramus who texted to say, ask if you have any children.
Mm-hmm.
All right? Because number one, we send children to school every day. Many of those teachers do not have any kids. But
Mm-hmm.
yes, we entrust them teachers with our children to teach them, right?
Yes.
All right? Because they had the training in college in order to get the job. You don't have to have children in order to teach them or to give your opinion on them. All right? Your training comes, like you say, when you mind children, you observe them, you've had them in your care before. You don't have to have children in order for you to give your opinion on how to raise them. Okay? In fact, you probably had more experience than many parents who have children. But okay, again, too, regarding someone had mentioned they're saying it's mental abuse for taking away privileges from children or giving them time out. Did I hear that?
Yeah, the caller said that people are accused, right, when they do that. What the caller was saying is, when I take my son's PlayStation away from him, the people say that's psychological abuse. The caller didn't agree with that. Yeah, the caller didn't agree with that. He's saying that parents are facing this kind of backlash when they look for alternatives to physical discipline. They are being told that the forms of punishment they opt for are also forms of abuse. And I don't think it's necessarily that in every situation.
No, because the lady just mentioned it.
Yeah.
When you, and I really don't think you have to beat or fight. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You can't take away privileges. But she said, explain to them, listen, because the children ain't stupid. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I don't like what you did. I'm doing this for this purpose, and this is what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And anytime you do it, And children will understand that. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that ain't no abuse. That ain't no psychological abuse. You are explaining to them, listen, I'm taking this away from you because you've done this or you've done that. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Like you say, when your daddy come home, he made the thing hot. Okay? And that was a smart man. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You take away the privileges because you disobeyed me for this purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And they will understand it. All right? And psychological abuse in that. In
No.
fact, you are actually teaching them how to teach their children.
Critical thinking skills.
Anyway.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Anyhow, I can hardly hear you, but
sorry.
a nice show. I'm still listening.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Thank you. I was listening to you, ma'am. Don't watch nothing. Thank you for calling. Right? See, there are instances. I read a story where there's a child and they live with like a parent and a step parent. The child was disciplined for something that they did, but I think the discipline went too far. The child had earned something through hard work over like a couple of years. And the punishment was to take the thing that they earned and give it to another sibling, right? And the non-custodial parent argued that punishment went too far, that psychological abuse. There are other ways you could punish them. There are other things you could take from them. Why are you taking this thing that they worked extremely hard for and giving it to somebody else? Why not just restrict their access to it for a brief amount of time? Good morning, caller.
All right. Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Okay. Well, the subject of violence to children is one that I am particularly concerned about because I was beaten beyond belief as a child.
Mm-hmm.
And so I particularly think that it is abuse when a parent doesn't have enough authority to have a child obey. But I think I see a lot of abuse here.
Mm-hmm.
I raised my child on my own, and because I didn't have my community, I used my pediatrician to tell me what was happening with him and how I adjust. And I think as a parent, you can forget that child is growing all the time and changing all the time and becoming a human being and needs to experience. They need to taste, they need to touch, they need to talk.
Mm-hmm.
I have yet to see any parent allowing their children to talk as much as they need to and helping them in that self-expression. They tell them, shut up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And so I would say that the violence that I'm seeing in the country between males and females, that there needs to be a national education of what it is to be a parent, because obviously the community, the grandmothers, and the stories that are told in their all traditional societies, they have stories for everything that a human being can be tempted to do to teach them to figure out what's right from wrong. You can't beat people into being good.
Absolutely.
Children need love. I don't see people... in this country, boys are either underprotected or overprotected. Just neither, And so if we would watch every other creature that God created, they are the most amazing parents. Mm-hmm. They raise their children. They let them play when it's time to play, and they release them when it's time for them to go off on their own.
Yes, ma'am.
We're doing all the wrong things, and we wonder why the people in the society are not able to face life, why they're committing suicide. Why is there so much alcohol drinking?
Oh, yes.
Okay? Well, you're not happy.
Listen.
There's a basic undercurrent of unhappiness here that has to be addressed. If it is, why should you tell a boy not to cry?
Exactly. Listen,
what are those things? And we've come down from slavery. We had fractured families. We had mothers that were raped. So there is trauma there. And it has to be recognized.
And processed.
The family, the grandmother, and they did what they could. If someone was beating their child, someone would say, no, you need to stop. Okay, what's going on?
There's moderation in the space.
I hear mothers cursing at their kids in language. How I see mothers yanking 2-year-olds and forcing them to jump off buses and dragging them and forcing them to, and just violence.
Mm-hmm.
They don't love these children.
No, they that's not it. They struggle. They struggle with understanding how to love. That's it. They love them. They struggle with understanding how to love properly. I want to thank you, caller, very much for that personal contribution to this conversation. We got to go to a break. When we get back from the break,
That's fine. You don't have to be a parent to see and understand abuse, Sarah. You don't have to give any justification. Abuse is abuse.
Absolutely. Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
have a good
When we get back from the break, we're going to continue the conversation.
It's a subject that needs to be brought out in the open because it is there.
Yes, ma'am.
Everywhere.
Thank you very much. You guys stay tuned to Guardian Radio AM with C.A. Newry. We're going to a break. We'll be right back.
Just sign in and have a seat, please. They'll call you in for your x-ray shortly.
That's why they call it a waiting room. You won't have that problem at 4th Terrace Diagnostic Center or Imaging at Grosvenor. We never schedule multiple appointments, so you'll be in and out in no time. And if your initial screening reveals a concern, our radiologist can conduct an alternative screening right then and there. Call 328-8157 to schedule an appointment at 4th Terrace Diagnostic Center or Imaging at Grosvenor today.
Pinder is carrying a new line of tile, the Sky series of porcelain. It comes in 4 colors, Sky Noir, Sky Azure, Sky Gris, and this one, Sky Glance. In this particular tile, I think you'll find coin gray, silver gray, cloud gray, and gray. All of these are seamlessly blended to make the Sky Glance one beautiful tile. The Sky series of porcelain comes in 2 formats, 24 by 24 at $5.30 a square foot and 12 by 24 at $5.25 a square foot.
Love the show? Want to give your support? Become a sponsor today. Call 302-2300 for our rates and packages. That's 302-2300. Become a sponsor on Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
Alpha Sounds Promotion presents Back to Love, an unforgettable evening of smooth R&B vibes and cherished memories. Join us at the Nassau Cruise Port on Saturday, February 15th for a spectacular all-white affair featuring live performances by soul sensations Freddie Jackson,
Hey everybody, it's Freddie Jackson. I'm coming to Nassau, Bahamas, and we are looking forward to the night of love.
also performing Regina Bell. Also featuring Bahamas' very own Essence Band. Back to Love. Saturday, February 15th. It's a spectacular all-white affair at the Nassau Cruise Port. Get tickets online. BahamasEtickets.com. Plantation Bar and Grill. Big Boys Cafe. And Tropics Bar and Grill. For more info, contact 822-6863.
And I hope to see you there.
It's the lottery of love at Everybody Wins.
I love you.
Everybody Wins is giving away over $100,000 in cash prizes in the Lottery of Love.
I love you.
All February long, every $20 spent, you'll receive a raffle ticket. The more you spend, the more chances to win. And you could be among the 30 winners randomly selected on February 28th to win $10, $20, or even $30,000.
I love you.
It's the Lottery of Love at Everybody Wins. Remember to game responsibly and get ready to win.
Sonny Bank, ducks in the pond. These gals out here like grass on melon. And let me tell you one thing, I ain't going home, no. I ain't going home, Come Sonny Bank, ducks in the pond. These gals out here like grass on melon. And let me tell you one thing,
Good morning. Welcome back to Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. This is Guardian Radio AM with C.A. Newry. See, I play that song because children can't say that to their parents. They can't say, I ain't coming home. They can't say, you's row too much, I ain't coming home. Right? They can't do that. They don't have that luxury or that privilege. Call, I coming to you right now, and then I get to make time to read some texts. Following up on the last caller before the break, I think that it's problematic that you are using physical discipline as a primary form of discipline, if you have already emotionally abandoned a child or you are emotionally negligent, I don't think you're going to get the results you think by using physical discipline on that child. Let's go to the next caller. Good morning, caller. Okay. Sorry, I missed you, caller. That's my bad. Kalik, the Bear of the Bahamas, invites you to Victory Fest 2025. Join us Saturday, March 1st at Smugglers Square for an epic celebration of the 2024 Boxing Day and 2025 New Year's Day Junkanoo winners, the Saxon Superstars. The Junkanoo season may be over, but the celebration is just getting started. Enjoy music by Playhouse DJs, Little Giant and DJ Tank, and performing live, Fanshawn and D-Mac. Let's celebrate the 4 straight Junkanoo winners, Saxons Superstars. Aye for that. Even though I is a spirit, it's the greatest scrap group in history, Junkanoo white people in the whole world, you don't mind us? We still celebrate the Saxon Superstars. Here are a couple of texts. Aaron, I think it's high time fathers stop trying to be the bigger person and start calling police on these mothers who are abusing their children. Well, certainly, fathers need to be serious about making interventions. You cannot just sit back and say, oh, well, I don't have any control. Oh, well, they living with their mother. As a parent, even if you don't have custody, even if you're not the custodial parent, you still have an obligation to help to create a safe space for your children. When we understand how difficult that can be in many instances, we understand how difficult it is for non-custodial parents to have input in how their children are raised. Another text says, Aaron, I'm siding with you. If some of these adults were to be beaten for doing wrong like they beat these kids, they would understand. When they pass that law, I will be willing to take out a belt for them. But I think, you know that little phrase we use when we say, oh, a little beating didn't hurt me? If you were the recipient of physical discipline, right? And you are now responsible for children and physical discipline is the only thing you could think of or is the first resort, then you didn't process that physical discipline as healthily as you could have, is all I'm saying. Everybody's life is different, but I hear people telling stories with nostalgia that in 2025, supposed to cause you to call the police because you have an obligation under the law. If you hear a story about a parent or a child talking about being beaten with a pan, being beaten with an iron, not the cord from the iron, the iron. That was physical abuse. That was physical abuse. Texter said, beaten saved my life. The question is, Texter, do you now use physical discipline only? Do you only beat children? Anyone who thinks you will get a check they're talking about the Sovereign Wealth Fund. Bahamians need to go and work. Everyone wants a handout. Who asked where the money come from to pay all government workers during COVID? Sovereign Wealth Fund, give me a break. Anyone who thinks you will get a check every year is dreaming. Texter, yeah, everybody has to work. Because when Sir Lyndon Pinland said, if you want your country, you have to fight for it, I think he meant you're going to have 2 or 3 jobs. We don't have a problem with that, but these are 2 separate issues. Everybody needs to go to work. Everybody should be doing something in this country. Everybody at every age basically could be doing something in this country. That's separate from the Sovereign Wealth Fund and how our taxpayer dollars are spent. Yeah, there's 2 separate issues. And you say anyone who thinks you will get a check every year is dreaming. No, I could be honest with you. I doubt it. Also, I'm very concerned that our government enters into negotiations with foreign agents, whether they're economic or political, with the government's interest first and foremost and not the interests of the people of the Bahamas. There's another text. Oh, it's from the earlier show. I see a caller on the line. Let's go to the phone line. Good morning, caller. Good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Oh, right here, lovely. I just want to say this with all honesty. Everybody got to wake me agree with that.
Yes.
There's also agree that the politician them is teething up all the money. Don't you agree?
I feel like they have been derelict in their promise to be accountable, transparent, and honest, especially with economic affairs. Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. The All For Me babies, you only had one some time ago, but now all of them are gone.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, caller. Thank you. They're two separate issues. All of us have to work. That's what Pindlin meant when he said you have to fight for your country. He meant you're going to have 2 or 3 jobs. Okay. So I have a text for the open line. It is in reference to something said on the clock with my guest, Mr. Mitchell. Oh, Mr. Mitchell said something profound. He said, any sport the white people get behind is what we push. I just realized we do that with everything. We let the rich white people tell us we're supposed to get excited about their exclusive development and how wonderful it will be for us if they could do whatever they want. This is opposed to saying to the white people, we, us, the Bahamian people, here is the thing that represents us is important to our upward and forward movement. We need you to get excited about that in a big way. But the way things run here is why we excited now, waiting for space debris to fall on our head. Thank you, texter. And another text from this texter, which I think is great for this open line. The texter said, I've said from the start, the national sport has to be the thing what the boy without shoes is playing, right? Like the national sport has to be something that is accessible by everybody, whether you got money or you don't got money, whether you could afford equipment or you can't afford equipment. Everybody can access it. I want to say thank you, text, for that text. As we come to the end of the show, I mean, the lines are still open, people. 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259, 242-300-5720. We've got about 5 minutes left on the open mic. I want to read this. Our friends at IOT, it's Our Turn. They are a faith-based youth support and advocacy group. They have something special happening today. Their founder, I think India Rogers, is inviting us all to her 30th birthday celebration today, February 14th. This is her 3rd year celebrating her birthday by doing a fundraiser for the organization It's Our Turn. This year's fundraiser is called It's Our Turn to Love. It will be hosted at the Fox Hill Park at 7:30 p.m. this evening. Now, the purpose of this fundraiser? The IOT team is going on a mission trip to Grenada, right? And they hope to raise sufficient funds to build an orphanage in Grenada for underprivileged and impoverished children, right? And I think this would be in the wake of one of the hurricanes last year that destroyed many parts of the Eastern Caribbean, and Grenada was hit by that hurricane. And so IOT is asking the broader community to join them in this celebratory fundraiser, It's Our Turn to Love, as they raise funds for their mission trip to Grenada to build an orphanage for orphans and abandoned children in Grenada. The event is called It's Our Turn to Love. And what I was reading up on it, it's called It's Our Turn to Love, the Gospel Musical Production. So I think it's going to be a wonderful evening of activity, fellowship, and community. Fundraising tickets are available for purchase, $30 for adults, $15 for kids. Food and drink will also be available for purchase. Again, this is at Fox Hill Park tonight at 7:30 p.m. It's Our Turn to Love fundraiser. And if you would like to donate to the organization's bank account, right, here is the information. The name is It's Our Turn. The bank is CIBC. Account, business, account type, savings. Transit number 9766. That's transit number 9766. And account number 201-772-480. I will repeat the account number. 201-772-480. The organization is asking everyone to reach out in support of this mission trip and this very special mission in Grenada. For more details or to get that account information again, you can find IOT, It's Our Turn, on Facebook. And that information is also posted there. And for the rest of the year, we're still at the very beginning. In March 13th to 16th, IOT has a Grand Bahama mission trip scheduled. The Grenada mission trip is scheduled from May 29th to June 7th. August 16th is the return of the Jesus March. October 25 is IOT Day and IOT Conference. November 2nd is the IOT Team Retreat, and every Sunday, IOT hosts a prayer meeting on Google Meets, 7 p.m. I want to say thank you to India for using her birthday to bring awareness and to raise funds for vulnerable people in our broader community. I wanted to get that out there. I see I am just about all out of time. We have the big rocket landing taking place. Now, the initial articles have said February 17th. In this article, all systems go. DPM says safeguards in place as Bahamas set for as many as 20 SpaceX rocket landings in 2025. They have here, the date is February 18th. But all of those questions we've been asking over the last few days, there's an attempt to answer them in this article. The Department of Environmental Planning and Protection speaks to the mitigation efforts put in place in advance of the rocket landing. It speaks the article says that each landing is subject to regulatory approvals and requires a license from the Civil Aviation Authority of the Bahamas. So check out that article. All systems go. DPM says safeguards in place as Bahamas set for as many as 20 SpaceX rocket landings in 2025. You guys pick up a copy of The Guardian. Good weekend reading. It's been a pleasure talking with you today. Enjoy this weekend, and remember, you don't need money to show love. Have a great weekend, Bahamas.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, streaming on GuardianTalkRadio.com and the Guardian Radio app, Nassau, Bahamas.